Welcome to episode 23 of Trade Talks, Unlocking the Experience. My name is Kayla McGowan. I'm R&R's editor-in-chief and responsible for the educational tracks at The Experience. Today, my special guest is a very special friend of mine, former publisher and lifelong Ohio native. Today's special guest is Michael Balzano. Not only is he a native, he's an avid sports fan, a graduate of Kent State, and now resides in Naples, Florida. Please welcome Michael Balzano.
Hey, Kayla, how you doing?
Good. How are you? Welcome.
Good. Thank you. I love what you've done with the place. It looks great. We had that crazy ass song still as the opening, which is great. It's a set I know and love, and I'm so happy that you're resurrecting this podcast, which meant so much to me. Thank you.
You are so welcome. I don't know if I'm going to be able to follow in your footsteps. You set expectations there with the fun facts, the music, your personality. So I'm excited to have you as the first guest. I think this is very much deserved, and no other way I'd want to start this podcast series for the upcoming year.
Well, thank you very much. It was, we started this because we as everybody knows, BNP Media purchased the Experience a few years ago. And I thought, well, we're not really marrying R&R in the event. We got to find some way individually to do it. And what I found instantly was, and I've said this on a few other podcasts, everybody that was on this show, all the restoration leaders, all the cleaning leaders, marketing leaders, I asked them, why did you get in the industry? And every one of them said, I wanted to help people. And it always stuck with me. And I thought, well, what a cool industry this is. It's kind of beautiful when you think about it, Kayla, right?
It really is. I think it really, truly takes special people, right? We are helping people on a regular basis. I like to call ourselves the first responders of our industry, right? Because we're oftentimes there in times of crisis. And just meeting with everybody and hearing their story is so beautiful because you don't know. You see people at face value. Most times you've met them in the middle of their career and you just think, wow, they've been here for 20, 30 years. And that's not necessarily the case. So, looking back at this and really talking about all the people we have and, who's part of who are part of the programs and everything like that, who do you think had the most memorable intro to the industry?
What do you mean? I mean, as far as for me,
as your guest, as the guest that you've had on this, who was the most unique? Maybe they just happened to stumble upon it. Maybe they actually had a disaster themselves, right?
Yeah, they all had. I started asking questions too of everybody about halfway through, saying, tell me something unique about yourself that no one would know. And some of the answers were amazing. But as far as interviews go, I mean. First thing that comes to mind is Ed Cross was great. He always is. And everybody knows he was a rocker and a drummer. And he yelled at me because I called him a percussionist. He goes, I'm a drummer, man. I'm not a percussionist. All right. Easy.
Very proper.
Yeah. So he was fun. I get some good stories about Barry Costa right off the bat was amazing. He maybe in a little bit we'll talk about that because I had something specifically he said that I still think about to this day. And it's just every one of them. And I think that maybe not just this industry, but any industry in general, you peel back the onion a little bit. It's kind of cool. All the lives these people have had in the past and how they've somehow wound up here. Randy Gandara, of course, was a Michael Jackson impersonator. Like, what? Where did that come from? And now he's doing great things with Goldmore and our friends from Normie, and it goes on and on. Even was fortunate to talk to Tag Henderson, who's the CEO of our company at BNP Media, because, it's funny. The sale was almost 3 years ago now, and still people don't realize that BNP owns the Experience. I said, hey, boss, would you mind coming on? And I was happy and terrified when he said, yeah, sure, you can interview me. Like, oh, crap. All right, great.
You're like, no, wait, I was hoping you would say no.
No, I don't have time for that, Mike. Okay, I understand, sir. But he was amazing. Our guy, he is a family-run organization, almost 100 years old. And I think the title of that episode was the family media company purchased the family event of the restoration industry. And, I learned so much from so many people. I always like to say I'm not the new Larry Cooper. And Larry got mad at me for saying that. Until I explained to him, I go, no, man, what I mean is, for a number of reasons, most importantly, you've been in the cleaning and restoration industry for 30 years. I've been in B2B media for 30 years, but I don't know anything about this. When I first walked in, I know some now, but let's get the people who know what they're talking about on here. And if you're going to come to me about truck mounts and stuff, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That at the time. So I took this as a learning opportunity. I didn't pretend I was real technical with the people because I couldn't be. And we learned about them. And as you're finding out, right, I'm going to let you talk in a minute. As you're finding out right now, people love talking about themselves, and it just kind of flows. And that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I'm so happy you're doing this. By the way, this is we forgot. I'm so excited about starting. This is our Christmas episode.
Yes.
Your background looks great. I got my red Christmas jacket on, and I wish everybody a Merry Christmas. So now I'll shut up.
Yeah. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to everybody. Honestly, I think we knew this was going to be a very talkative episode. We are both very social people. We love to talk, and working together is always a great time. But I think there's so much to learn about all of this. What was the reasoning or motivation to have trade talks? I think that's really important for people to understand as well.
Well, R&R is restoration and remediation. And I tried to say, okay, we need to boost our cleaning. We need to boost our cleaning because we own the experience now. And we were R&R for so long. It just felt like a round peg in a square hole, whatever that expression is. And let's just be who we are. We're good friends with so many cleaning organizations and trade shows. Let's just let them be great at that. But we definitely need a bridge to the show. And I felt that this was a good thing. Our editor at the time was doing, as you are now, Ask the Experts and all sorts of different videos. And we have some great people like Ben Riccardi. I'm not going to mention any names. A lot of great contributors sending their videos in. Yeah. But I said, I could be the one, since I'm the publisher, even though editors are supposed to do this, I could be the one that we're supposed to be as the business people. I'm the one guy that kind of is on both sides of this. I'd be the one to do this. I'm happy to try. I'll be the guinea pig. And it worked out. And it worked out great, I think.
I think you did a great job. I think also, there's nerves and anxiety about, hosting podcasts, especially when we're talking to industry experts. It can be a little intimidating. But I think the beautiful thing with the positions you and I hold is we know we have so much to learn, right? I've been in the industry for quite some time, but I feel like I still learn. I too am not a very technical person. I know the who's, and I know, situational things and things like that. But I think there's just so much for people to offer. And it's a great thing to use to bridge the gap. I think, speaking of Ask the Expert, I have a couple episodes coming up, one of which I talked to one of our industry's leading inspectors, and we talk about how, inspection, cleaning, restoration, health, and safety. I mean, all the things actually marry. And that's what the experience is all about. Though BMP Media owns it and R&R has a very heavy hand in the sessions, that's where we come in, right? We link all of the sub-industries to the main industry, right? And I think it's a beautiful thing, and it gives people the opportunity, like you said, to talk about themselves because, one, if you're coming to the experience for the first time or the 100th time, you may make your decision on what sessions you're going to go to based on what you know about these people, right?
Who are you? All right, you could talk to me about drying. You can talk to me about all that stuff. And that's that we need to know that. That's the reason for our brand and the other brands. But who are you? Let's figure out, let's crack the code a little bit. I learned this year a lot. I think this might be a little bit arrogant, but I'm going to go for it anyway. I think that on the political landscape, as everybody, we're so divided and everything. But if you didn't know who the other guy was voting for, chances are we'd be best friends, man. I find that out all the time. And it's just, if it's just that one thing, and it's an important thing, yes, but let's get past that and get back to just finding out what these people are really about and move on from there. And I think that I was happy that we were able to get a lot of the people who are leaders of the experience in our industry to kind of open up and say a bunch of silly things and fun things. And it was great. I mean, several of them, my friend Amanda Stichter, as well as Doug Hoffman from Normie recorded records. Like what?
Yeah.
Records, yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah,
you just don't know. And I think the cool thing about this is, if you look at the industry collectively and people for just that, what they're great at, right? You don't really know people's backstory unless you know them on a personal level. And though a lot of people on a personal level, there's always that extra layer of, you don't really know this person. Like you kind of do, but you really don't, and I think that's the one thing that's really cool. So speaking of unique things, what's one unique thing about you?
Oh, wow. You're right at it. Okay.
I mean, you're in the hot seat now.
I was waiting for the end. I was calm. That's a good interviewing tactic. You caught me off guard. Oh, crap. Okay. When I went out of high school, you know what? People aren't going to be that surprised if you really think about it with this, but When I graduated from high school, I didn't go to college. I didn't go into a trade or start a cleaning business or restoration, which I probably, looking back, any of those would have been better choices than me. I
Yeah.
was a DJ. I was a DJ on the air and in clubs for a while, for
You do
several
have a
years.
radio voice, I will say.
Well,
I could totally see that, not gonna lie to you.
it was fun. I started out in the middle of the fun. You get what you can get when you're starting out. I was making about $3
Yeah.
an hour overnight on a country station. And I'm not a country fan then or now. And I was playing like Willie Nelson records and crap in the middle of nowhere, Ohio. But it was fun. It was just fun. It was interesting because, and sometimes you look back and think, man, I wish I'd have stuck it out, but it was the
Yeah.
money thing and went incredible stories, nutty stories. I was able to eventually decided to go back to school and went to Kent State. And actually the DJing in the bars put myself through that. So that helped
Isn't
out
that
financially
interesting?
too. Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you still have a love for, spinning records? Have you done it recently?
No, that's not even a thing anymore. But I mean, it's spun into, as far as the radio kind. Now it's things like this, podcasting and
Yeah.
whatnot, and it emerges and evolves and whatnot. But everybody loves music. I do too. But yeah, I remember distinctly when I was about 19 at a bar. I used to work for when I was in the club scene. I worked for a company who put us at different bars, okay, to do it. And one of them was just the flat out mob bars, a mafia bar, right? I was just a little kid. They had the same vowel on the end of my name that they did. Not to besmirch my Italian friends, but it was. I went up to the guy's office. We talked to new DJ, and he came up and he had a big gun right there on the table in the middle of us. He said, "I want you to play this and this and this." I said, "You got it."
Yeah, I am not going to say no if you were wondering.
Yes, sir.
I will say yes to whatever you would like.
I mean, in nightclubs, anybody who's been a bartender or anything, meet some interesting folks at those clubs. So anyway, it was fun, and eventually I got into sales. So that's what led us to here. Leads us to here.
Yeah. So how did you get into sales?
Well, I mean, I graduated from Kent State, and I had a couple. It was a short time in some medical sales, and a short time in a couple other things. And finally, a good friend of mine was a big salesperson in a B2B media company in Cleveland called Advanced Star Communications. He goes, Mike, why don't you quit messing around and come into advertising sales? Like, oh, that seems kind of cheesy,
Yeah.
And that was 1997. I started with Advanced Star. Instantly met a young lady named Darlene Mattoon, a couple of rows away from me. People are looking ahead at this, who that is.
Yeah.
And I remember I went over, I thought she kept trying to use my phone in my office. And I was like, yeah, okay, she must be, she's a couple of years older than me, not much. And I was like, oh, she's dressed real sharp. She must be a manager or something. She happened to be just a rep like me. And I would go over there and kind of accidentally go walk by her. I think she was good looking too. I thought. So I'd accidentally go by her office at lunch. Oh, Darlene, I know you're here. You mind if I come in and talk and blah, blah, blah. And I asked her out and she said, no, because we work together. And they said, okay, well, I'll pick you up at 8, which you can't do now. I'd probably be good to HR.
I was going to say red flag everywhere.
But in 97, it was a lot looser. And
Yeah.
she said yes. And she'll hate me for telling this story. But the first thing we went on a date to, it was a movie. I can't remember the movie. It was a bad movie. And we also went to Hula Hands. And we saw the movie. Then we went out to dinner. And I planned one on her. And she instantly, and I'm not saying, look, I don't brag about my prowess in kissing. But I planned one on her. And she instantly walked through an emergency exit and set the alarm off. So I think it was a good kiss.
Perfect. I was going to say, hey, it was a celebratory walkout alarm sound.
It was. We got married a couple years later. We're still now. Everybody knows she's been with R&R on and off for a long time, and I'm very lucky to be with her still to this day. So, 2 stories.
I was going to say, you guys are definitely 2 peas in a pod. Definitely, I will definitely say, and that's what I love about you guys. I've known you guys for quite some time, and being able to work along one another and just build another relationship. Outside of just kind of vendor relationship. It's a lot different when we're on the same team. I think it's so cool. It's just full circle moment, right? And I didn't know that about you. I know you guys are married and everything, but I didn't know your whole background. And I think that that's so cool. I too met my husband at work, so I totally get it. And I think there's like some wild stat, like 70 or 80% of people actually meet their spouse at work. But I think it's a good way to actually see somebody for who they are, their work ethic, how they put themselves together. Do they show up to work? Do they not show up to work? So I think it's a really beautiful thing at the end of the day, you know?
Yeah, it's I understand why companies don't want fraternization. Where I get it completely. When I was in the need for a sales rep for R&R a couple of years ago, I said, well, I'll just, when I became publisher, I'll just get Darlene. And our
Yeah.
HR was like, no, 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 no. What's the matter with you? You can't do that. And I get it. Like, I mean,
You're
we're
like, oh,
still
I get
working
it
together
now.
for 30 off and on for like 20 years. We're not normal in a lot of ways, but definitely in
Yeah.
this. And then finally they saw what we saw, and I'm glad they let me bring it back.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome. Yeah, that's so awesome. So we've learned a lot about you. Now let's
yes,
learn a little bit about the experience. Let's share about the experience. So I know you mentioned that a family business purchased a family business, but why?
I think I became a publisher just almost instantly. One of the first things Sarah Harding, my old publisher, said, "Hey, there's this guy Larry Cooper. He wants to. You got to meet him. He owns these shows called The Experience." Okay, we went on the call, and Larry said, "Hey, he kind of brought it up. I'm thinking about moving on, retiring, or from this."
Mhm.
And started. I was like, wow, I didn't expect that. And I think that I took that information, Sarah and I took the information to our corporate, and they worked on it for a long time and finally decided to pull the trigger. The reason was to marry, I believe that as we move ahead, and it's almost 2025, we all know that you just evolves. Everything evolves, definitely in B2B media.
Yeah.
I think the print medium was a blast, and everybody loved reading magazines, and it's great, but it's just not where we're going. Everything's digital now, everything's moving on. And BNP made the decision to just the future, the model for BNP is a brand, a digital brand, and an event to back it up. And they saw that this was an excellent brand, an excellent event or events to tie in with R&R. And it made sense. I mean, it was available. It was the show in Las Vegas is still the largest show every year, as far as attendance and everything. So that's why it was done. And a lot of sweat and tears the last couple of years trying to turn it over, I should
Yeah.
say. But I'm happy they did it. I wouldn't trade it for anything the last few years.
I would definitely say too, right? Evolution, everything evolves over time. And I think even when Larry and his family had the show, right, it evolved over time. And now that it's a BNP event, it will evolve too. You know, some of the same key pieces will stay, right? Like the
Yeah.
hands-on sessions, the in court, class sessions, tracks occasionally, and I think we will evolve it over time because the industry is evolving. That's the other thing, right? The industry drives how our event acts, feels, and looks at the end of the day because that's who the event's for. And I think it's cool going from family to family because there's just a different meaning and a different drive, around that. Because anybody could have purchased it at the end of the day, right? Anybody could have purchased it.
Yeah. My hats off to the Henderson family and our company for pulling the trigger. And it wasn't $20 either. There was a nice amount of money they spent on this. So
Yeah.
I think it was worth it, and I'm glad they did. If somebody asked me, what is a lot of people ask me what's different between spring and fall. Everybody asks that, but I prefer to talk about what sets the whole experience apart. And it's just the sheer dense amount of content we provide. It's just so many tracks, so many sessions, so many speakers. Restoration Pavilion, Cleaning Pavilion, they have sessions with Lisa Lavender and Sean Bission doing their thing back there. I've been to a bunch of trade shows in our industry. They're all great. I'm not going to badmouth any of them because I always have a great time and learn a lot when I go. We have so much more. We have so much more content than all of them, not combined, but all of them. And that's simply what sets it apart. If you want to learn something, if you want to get your hands dirty and figure out how to do this and that, you go to the experience. If you want to learn at a higher level how we're going to help my business grow by doing better marketing and business management, go to the experience. And I think that that's always going to be that way.
Yeah, I definitely think too, the beauty of all of this is every event has something to offer, right?
Yeah.
And just like you said, every event has pros and cons and all of that. But I think the beauty of what we do is what you just said. there is a variety of educational opportunities in session. Not only are we in the classroom setting, we're actually hands-on, right? You get that opportunity to watch, learn, and maybe even participate in some hands-on stuff, right? I think that's the other thing. Some people learn by having hands-on opportunities, and that's how connections are made too, right? I think the name is the experience, and we want you to have a great experience, right? It's all about your experience when you're attending.
Yeah. I'm gonna go back to a question you asked about 15 minutes ago, but it's fitting here too. So when I went to the experience in September 2023, we weren't taking it over as Larry's last event, being in charge. We were there, we owned it,
Yeah.
but they were running it. And I was sitting in the team room, and Barry Costa, the legendary Barry Costa, walks in, and he had about a 2x2 carpet rug sample with a bunch of fake dog poop on it. I go, Larry, oh, Barry, you're so funny. Where'd you get that fake dog poop? He goes, this is my dog's poop. What do you mean? What, Barry? He's walking around. And then you think about it, actually, he's going to do a session on cleaning your rugs, and that's, pets do
It
that.
happens. Yeah.
Right. But so he was the second guest on Unlocking the Experience at Trade Talks almost a year ago to the day right now. And we had him on, and I said, hey, you have any interesting experience stories you got for me? Because I was hoping he'd say something. I would say, I'll tell you what my favorite experience story was. I was talking about the poop, right?
Yeah.
It was a setup. But Barry went on to say, and I'm sure he doesn't mind. This is public. So he doesn't mind me saying this. He goes, now, when I do have a very good experience. This is about 15 years ago. His child, who was younger, got cancer and died. And they went to Larry, to his credit, gave him an agenda spot on the agenda, a speaking spot. And Barry came out and did the entire eulogy he did at the funeral for that. And he said, I don't know if any other show would allowed me to do that, but the experience did. And then I realized that we all have our families. This is Barry talking. We all have our families, but the experience and the people that come to the experience, this industry, those are my family too. And I don't want to not see them 2 times a year. I want to see them every time I get. And I was like, I was really.
It's so sad. It's so heartwarming at the same day. Yeah.
I tell you this, I didn't tell my stupid poop joke. I know that after that, but I mean,
you're like, I cannot follow that with that. Gosh.
But he hit the nail right on the head, and that's it. And that's the family thing, the aspect of this. And everybody knows each other, and everybody comes, and it's a big party. We have a good time. And I think that is one thing that this will always be about. We don't, you know what? We don't charge millions of dollars to buy a booth. The rates are reasonable. The rates are this and that. So we don't have a bunch of flashy stuff. But we have a party. It's fun, and it's a good time, and people learn stuff. And at the end of the day, I think that's the most important thing when you're going to business or living. You got to keep learning, right, Kayla?
Yeah, 100%. And I think you said it best. We do have show time, we do have education, we do have a party, but most importantly, that party celebrates everybody in the industry, right? I think we give away some fun awards both in the spring and the fall, right? There's some key awards. Women in Restoration will be awarded at the Spring Experience in Punta Gorda. So Punta Gorda, back in Florida. Oh, I rhymed. Yep. Definitely not a rapper by any means. But why should somebody come to the show in Punta Gorda?
Well, we need to get, I'm working with you to get started on the agenda this year. And I'm assisting you is what I'm doing. You did a great job. And by the way, is another Florida thing. Yeah, it sounds like Punta Gorda. You think it's Punta Gorda because Florida, and I'm a Floridian, so I can make fun of us.
Yeah.
So, come to Punta Gorda because this is good. I tell you what, this is a new session. We have 3 tracks this time. It's going to be condensed, and it's going to be targeted on nothing but education. Get down here. It's about a half-hour flight drive from Fort Myers Airport, where I fly into all the time. It's as we discussed a few minutes ago. You're not going to get the education anywhere else as you're going to get at this event right now. And that goes for all experience events, but this one's going to be even more micro and targeted, which is exciting.
Well, I was going to say, too, I think that's the beauty of this, right? It's very focused. We know what's going on in the industry. We know where the pain points are in the industry, and we have the ability to capitalize on that and help one another. And not only that, we know that things evolve. And so we're able to learn from everybody who attends the experience. Like, hey, we need to have more of this, or hey, this was great.
Yeah.
Maybe it should be a longer session. I think that's the other thing that really differentiates us as well. It's a very personal experience. We're able to take the feedback. And of course, that's how we evolve. That's how we make the event worthwhile, worth attending. And again, evolution. And not to mention, it's a very family friendly spot, right? It's going to be a beautiful time of the year. Spring break might even be falling around that time, and I want to circle back to, you said it's Punta Gorda, and I think that's one of those things wherever you live, right? I live in Nevada. When people say Nevada, people here go absolutely bonkers, but again, in the South, I think there's a Nevada, Missouri, if I'm not mistaken. I lived in Arkansas, but that's how they pronounce it. Nevada. It's not Nevada. Yeah. So I think, everybody has their quirks, and I have been saying Punta Gorda because, well, I'm from the West Coast. So, that's how we enunciate here.
To Punta Cana for vacation. Right. That's my hometown making fun of Florida thing. I think that speaking of Florida, though, early April is beautiful, beautiful. Mm-hmm. The snowbirds tend to leave just after Easter. So April, it's no longer chilly. Look, today it's 52 degrees here. Okay. I talked to a friend of mine in Chicago this morning. It was 8. She doesn't want to hear about it, but it's for here. It's chilly. That's why everybody comes down in the winter. It's mild and nice. April, it starts ticking up again. It'll be in the 80s. It'll be sunny. It won't be a million degrees like July, but it'll be just right. And if you want to get up there with the kids and come down and have a good time, this is a place. We have, I think, 4 hotels on the rotation for to stay with too. All nice, all pretty new. 3 of them within walking distance of the convention center. One of them is the fabulous Sunseeker Resort, which is just over the bridge, a mile away. And you could maybe parlay it into a vacation too with the family if you'd like.
I was going to say, you just got to stay there recently, right? And it was beautiful. The experience was great. I think, you sent me great pictures of, hey, this is where we're going to be. I can see it from where I am. And I think, it's just so refreshing to be, some people are going to be coming from the snow, let's be real. And just to have, even a 70-degree day, I think is going to be refreshing. And so, I'm looking forward to it. I haven't been to Florida in quite some time. And I know they're still cleaning up in that area, right? They were recently affected, but not so bad like some of the other areas. But they're ready for us. They've said they are ready for us. So don't have any reservations about, how is it going to be? They're ready. They're so ready for us, and we're ready for them too. So I know.
I can tell you firsthand, that's fine. Especially the Punta Gorda Charlotte Harbor is fine.
Yeah. Well, you were out there right after and right before too, weren't you? So, I mean, you can fly in and out and all of that. And I think that's the beauty of Florida, right? They are ready and they know, okay, we have to turn this around, right? I think that's the one thing. Like, if something like that hit like California or Nevada, it'd be a different story. We're not ready for that,
Yeah, it's a way of life down here. And I'll briefly tell a quick story. I was at the Violand event from our friends from Violand Management, and there's this old saying down here in Florida. It's a way of life, unfortunately, in the summertime. You don't panic about hurricanes until I can't remember his name, but who's saying? I'm looking till Jim Cantore shows up and the Waffle House closes, right? Then, we got problems.
It's serious.
So I remember the last hurricane came through, and I saw this is Jim Cantore recording live from Sunseeker Resort. I'm like, oh no, this isn't ideal at all. And luckily, it was fine. Cool restoration story about that. And we talked about that. It was built last year, but it's built to withstand a Category 5, and it did just that. I mean, this big storm came through, and a little flooding in the garage, but who cares? So anyway, side note.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's normal though too, right? I think here in Vegas, if we get even maybe an inch of rain that's falling very heavily, everything on the Strip floods. It goes through the Lynx parking garage. I mean, it's normal, I will say, for us, right? And it's just you just adapt. And speaking of that, being hurricane resistant, if you wanted to ever, essentially be there or withstand a Category 5, hey, you know where to stay.
There's reasons why Florida is a big deal in restoration, right? Yeah. The drying, all of it, and they go through that sadly every year, a few times. So, and that's why we wanted to come back. And the people said we want to go back to Florida. They all want to come back to Florida. True.
I was just going to say that.
We found a place that in Florida we can take them this year. So hopefully they'll be happy.
Yeah, I think so. And I think what better place to be and talk about all of the elements, right? Mold, water, fire, all those things. I think, gosh, what a great place. Not only is it beautiful, you're talking about and talking with people who actually know that space, see it on a regular basis. It's nothing out of the ordinary for them, right? Speaking of which, we are going to be announcing probably after this or before this airs some agenda stuff, right? So looking into the agenda, I know we over the years we've talked about how it is cleaning and restoration, and sometimes, we don't get the opportunity to lock in some pretty heavy hitters for cleaning and restoration. But good news, I will not name names, but I will definitely say both keynotes are industry specific. One is very oriented with cleaning. However, we're going to discuss the process of making a career, right? And the importance of how everything interconnects and interrelates. And then we do have a panel for restoration, which I think if you are in the Florida area or even on the East Coast that does have, some unfortunate circumstances with catastrophes, this would be the place for you to be, right? I think we worked really hard on this agenda. Looking back, I think we did, and it's going to show at the end of the day how hard we did work on it and how important feedback is and how we want people to enjoy it. Right? They're coming out of the field. The least we can do is make sure that it's something that they truly enjoy.
Last year, one of my goals, and the 1 year I was running it solo, was we want to balance all those great leaders that speak a lot of the experience versus new faces and new names, which are so many. And I was so proud that the 4 keynote speakers that on my watch were all that had never been a keynote before. We had two market leaders, Leighton Healy and Garrett Gray, of course, from CoreLogic in the Vegas, but Mr. Violand and to represent the business management and restoration side, and Jim Pemberton, the legendary Jim Pemberton, the cleaning. And yeah, it's important that moving forward, and you did a beautiful job of this. And you say we, and I appreciate that, but really you did this of getting some real good cleaning and restoration representation, because we always jokingly say all the cleaning, not joking, it's true. All the cleaning people I talk to think it's just a restoration show, and all the restoration people think it's just a cleaning show. So we got to work doubly hard to make sure everybody's represented, because it's both. And I think you did a great job. And you did a great job on that. And you did a great job. You're going to do a great job on this show too. If I could circle this back, I think I'm so happy that you decided to resurrect this. Well, yeah, I had a lot of fun meeting people. And if you're a leader and you're coming to the experience, if you had an experience, Kayla's going to give you a call. Trust me. And you get to bare your soul in front of everybody like I just did, which is it's not so tough. It was fun.
And it's okay to ask me hot seat questions too. I truly don't mind. I think there's a lot that people don't know about me, and I think that's the beautiful thing. It's a conversation starter. We're always learning new things about one another. So thank you for passing me the torch and, really trusting me. You had no reservations about bringing it back or anything like that. So speaking of that, what advice do you have for me in carrying out this series?
Oh God, I don't know. I didn't think of that one. Well, advice for you, I think, you know what? I would just be yourself. Don't be afraid to ask hard questions. People want to, don't be afraid to ask hard questions, but in the same token, make sure people know kind of what you're going to ask, and they don't want to be completely taken off guard. As we talked about at the beginning of this, people love talking about themselves, and the fact that they're big leaders in the industry is fine, because they're going to talk about cool stuff and get people to know them. Just make sure you diversify your guests, and make sure you just have fun. People are way too stressed these days, man. Just have fun. Make sure they answer the question about something odd about themselves, because that's just a lot of laughs going.
Yeah.
Enjoy yourself. We had a lot of large loss, hurricanes, we have a lot of serious issues we deal with in this industry. Here's a chance for an hour a week. You could have a lot of laughs and fun. Take advantage of it.
Yeah, I was definitely going to say it's nice to humanize things, right? Like you said, just be yourself. I mean, most times we do have our business hat on, and just if we can take that hour, 30 minutes, whatever the case may be, and just be a human, and maybe still have the professional hat on, but just be a person, right? I think that's the biggest thing, is allowing people to be a person. With that being said, any last closing words? I'm sure you'll probably be on again. Maybe I'll yank you over here again, but any last words?
I'll always be happy to do whatever you want for you and Darlene and the brand. Well, last words are, as I told everybody when I left as publisher of R&R last year, I want to thank everybody for just letting me play in their sandbox. This has been fun. I learned so much, And I think that this is a great industry. Like we said, everybody gets into this industry. You want to make money and have a good business, of course. But the root of it is you want to go help people. And don't ever lose that fire and that spirit, and you'll be great. And just thanks. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, you'll see me again. I'll be in Punta Gorda.
Yeah,
for sure.
He'll be in Punta
as long as Darlene's around,
I'll probably be in Las Vegas as well. Don't let him fool you.
I'll be around, of course, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is you said it best. We're all thankful for everything that everybody does day in and day out. And we're just a small piece, right? I think us here, we're a small piece, but they're the driving force, and it allows us to learn and love what we do every day. And the least we can do is host a fabulous event to show thanks, but also contribute to their future and even more success than they've already seen. So with that being said, please make sure you make the plans to attend the Experience Convention April 8th through 10th at the Charlotte Harbor Convention Center. And it's in Punta Gorda, Florida. You can register now through our website at rnrmagonline.com. On the top search bar, you'll see Experience. And of course, you can always find these R&R videos and podcasts on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. So if you haven't already, please feel free to leave us a quick review, ask questions, like and follow us on social media. And thank you again, Michael. I appreciate it. This was Trade Talks, Unlocking the Experience. Thank you for joining.